Sass allows you to make use of variables. Now, it might not seem like you need variables in CSS, but it turns out they're extremely powerful. If you're not familiar with programming or the concept of a variable, it's basically just a way of storing values so that you can reuse them later. Sass allows for several different types of variables, including numbers, strings, which are just groups of letters and characters, and Boolean values, which are just true or false values. Sass also has a type called color, which allows you to store a CSS color value. So let's try to do some basic cleanup on the Sass document that we've created thus far to see if we can't simplify things with some variables. So let's first add some variables to the top of our file. One of the most common types of variables that you might want to define are color values. So first, we'll go ahead and add a flag so that we can store our variables up at the top of our file here. And then let's go ahead and define some colors. So first, I'll define a white color, and then we'll define a light color, and then we'll do kind of a middle gray color, and finally we'll do a dark color. And these are all colors that already appear in our file. So you can create variables by typing a $sign, the name of your variable, and then a colon. Then you type in the value for your variable. Now in this case, all of our variables are of type color. And just one minor note here, you can have any amount of space you'd like in between the colon and the value for your variable. I've just put a few tabs in there so that our variables all line up and are a little bit easier to read. So now that we've defined our variables, we can go ahead and replace the values in our code with the names of these variables. So let's just scroll down here, and this looks like our dark value. So we'll go ahead and put a $sign and type in dark. And scrolling down a little bit more here, that looks like our middle gray color. So we'll put middle there, actually with a $sign. And if we scroll down a bit more, there's our light color. There's our dark color again. And I think there's just a few more here. There's our white color. There's the light again. Light one more time here. And that looks like it. Now, in all of these cases, the names of the variables are actually longer than the values that they're replacing, but that's okay. We're not trying to make our code shorter or take up less space. What we're actually trying to do is make our code more robust and flexible. I'll show you more of that in a second. So now, if you don't already have Sass watching your CSS file, you'll want to go ahead and turn that on now. So I've already navigated to our CSS directory, and I'll just type Sass watch, and we want it to watch style.sass, and we want that to go to style.css. There we go. And now if we switch over to our browser and refresh, you can see that nothing has actually changed, which in this case is exactly what we want. So just a moment ago, I told you that variables can make your code more robust and powerful. We'll go ahead and switch back over to the code, and let's say that we wanted to change the color of one of our variables up at the top here. So I'll go ahead and change our white color to a bright orange, just like this. And when we switch back to the browser and refresh, you can see that everywhere that we were using our white color is now orange. Actually, it looks like we missed one of our white colors. So maybe we can switch back and track that down. And there it is right there. So if we just go ahead and change that variable to white and switch back, there you have it. Now imagine if we had a much more complex website with lots of style sheets comprising thousands of lines of code, and for whatever reason you had to change some specific green color you had picked out to some other specific blue color, for example. Sure, you could find and replace in your text editor, but that's a much bigger pain than just changing a single variable value. So let's look at another use case for variables. So in this case, we're just sorting all of our variables at the top of our single style sheet. But let's say that you had a separate file that stored all of your variables and you had a whole bunch of other CSS files, or SAS files rather. Sometimes you don't need to just use variables in cases where you want to replace a single value in many places. Rather, you might want to just group a couple of variables together for the sake of convenience. So, for example, let's try storing the site width in a variable. So we'll go ahead and type site width, and I know that our site width is 960 pixels, and we can go ahead and put this variable here into the width for our wrapper, which is where the site width is actually being set. And now we can just adjust the site width from up here. So if we go ahead and switch back and refresh, you can see that nothing has actually changed. However, this means that we no longer have to hunt through our code to find where the site width is controlled. We can just go ahead and adjust this one variable that's at the top of our page, just like this. We can go ahead and change this to, say, 1,000. And if we go back and refresh, now our site is just a little bit wider, and we just had to adjust that one variable in one convenient place. That covers the basics of SAS variables, but it turns out they're actually more robust than what I've shown you so far. In the next video, we'll learn about a few additional features of SAS variables.